Hello crafters, this is Karen from Karen's Crafting Company, and today I'm going to show you how I made a super simple slimline card for the There's a Stamp for That challenge. And before I begin, let me tell you a little bit about the challenge. Danny from Danny's Dreams created this specific challenge, and I was fortunate enough to be chosen to be part of the challenge team. And basically what we do is the challenge team creates projects that pertain to a particular theme. So for example, this current challenge that we're in right now involves 3 options: slimline, squares, or skunks. And you can choose whichever theme you want to create. It could be more than one, just one, you could do all 3, it's really your choice. And what the challenge team does is we create projects that relate to the theme to help inspire the challenge members of this group. So what I'll do is I will link all Danny's information in the description box so you can check it out. So today's card, I'm going to use the Dandelion Wishes stamp set from Stampin' Up. This stamp set is no longer available, it is retired. However, I was able to find my set on eBay. So for my card today, I'm going to be using the single dandelion that I have here. It has some of those pieces fluttering off. I'm also going to use the dandelion stems. And then for my sentiment stamp, I chose the Sending Well Wishes Your Way. To start off, I will need my stamping platform. And off camera, I already made my card base. And I used an 8.5 by 11 piece of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock. And on the 11-inch side, I cut it at 7 inches. And then I folded it in half to make the 3.5 by 8.5 card base. I also cut out a piece of the black cardstock to use as my mat, and that measures at 3.25 by 8.25 inches. And then finally, for my card front, I chose my white cardstock, and that measures at 3 inches by 8 inches. So now what I'll do to start is I'm going to place my 3 by 8 piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to line it up inside my platform. And that red piece of scrap paper that you see inside, I just used that just to protect the base so that I don't get any ink on it, especially if I'm inking off the cardstock. So I take my dandelion piece and I place it along the left side of the cardstock, right up to the edge. And then I take the top portion of my platform and I press it firmly. As I've learned with the older versions of the Stampin' Up stamps, they don't stick well like the clear stamps do. And you'll see later on when my sentiment stamp falls off, and I'll show you a trick to help keep it on the platform. So I'm getting my VersaFine Black Onyx Pigment ink to ink up my stamp. And I'm not pressing too hard as I don't want the ink to smudge or smear. So when I take a look, I see that in the middle portion of the dandelion there, I didn't get a good enough impression, so I will now stamp it again. And this is the advantage of using a stamping platform, that if you didn't stamp hard enough, or if some part of the stamp didn't stamp, you can just ink it back up and make a second attempt, or even a third attempt if you need to. So now I'm moving on to the Fluttering dandelion stems, and here, this stamp I will be using multiple times. So I will ink that up, And again, I will apply light pressure so that I don't smudge any of the ink. Alright, so because I'm using this stamp multiple times, as you see, I have been wiping my stamps off in between, every time I use it. And even though I do wipe it off, it still has a little bit of ink on the stamp. And because of that, I'm going to show you a trick I use to avoid ink smudging on my project. So I take a piece of acetate, and I have the Cricut brand, and it comes in a pack of 10 or 12 sheets at the 12 by 12 size. And when you look at the acetate, it appears to be cloudy, and that's because it has a protective film over it. So when you're ready to use it, you just peel off the film. But for this purpose, I keep the film on. And this piece I do use repeatedly. And I did cut this piece of acetate down to size to work specifically for these types of projects. When I need to stamp, using the same stamp multiple times, that acetate really does come in handy so that I, don't get any ink marks on my cardstock. So again, I, press firmly, and I, take that acetate off. You can see a little bit of that black ink there. You'll see it again. It'll come up a little bit later on in the video, and you will see that the acetate is a saving grace to the project. And then once I've inked it, I remove the acetate, and then I proceed with the stamping. So again, I'm going to use that acetate again because I need to use this stamp one more time. And again, once I decide on the placement of the stamp, I will take that top portion and I will press firmly and remove the acetate before I stamp it. Again, there's a little bit of that black. You can see it a little bit better this time around. And again, you'll see it one more time where it definitely shows up. So very happy that I, learned this trick, and it has really come in handy for, this purpose. So I finish up with the dandelion stamps, and now I'm going to turn my platform 90 degrees. And I'm now going to use my, my sentiment stamp. And here is where you'll see the stamp come off the top part of the platform when I ink it. And I'll wipe it off, and you'll see what I do. But right now I'm just trying to figure out where I want this sentiment stamp to land on my card topper. So once I find the position, I turn it back 90 degrees and I close it. I press what I thought was firmly, and it's still on there. It hasn't moved. And then I go to ink it, and oops, it came off. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my cloth and I'm just going to wipe the ink off. No big deal. We can, definitely, this is fixable. So now I take my acetate and I place it over my project, and now I will turn that platform 90 degrees and I will make a second attempt to get this sentiment stamp on there. And what I'm going to bring in here is some repositionable adhesive, and that is the Recollections brand from Michaels. And I just add 2 small strips of it, and what that will do is it will adhere to the top portion of my stamping platform, and it's strong enough that it will hold on the platform, and it will also come off easily when I take it off the stamp. So there you can see the black smudges right there. So again, if I didn't use that acetate, that would have just smudged my cardstock. So you definitely, if you do use the older versions of the Stampin' Up! Stamps and you have this issue, you definitely want to use the repositionable tape because it is a lower tack tape. And again, it's strong enough to hold it on the platform, and but not so strong that you can't take it off. It comes off pretty easily, either with a cloth or with using your fingers. So that finishes the stamping portion, and here now I'm just going to take my card topper and I'm going to adhere it to my my black mat. Love my ATG gun when I'm using, fairly large sizes of cardstock. I love my tape runner for that. When I'm using smaller pieces, I do tend to use tape runners or my adhesive. So you can see there, I'm using the back of my hands. You can see the ink there on my fingers. I flip the card over because I don't want to get that ink on my card base. So I just flip it over and I just press firmly, with the sides of my hands, and it helps. So sometimes my hands just get so inky that I just need to, just be a little bit more cognizant so I don't get the ink on there. Another trick here is I'm taking painter's tape and I'm going to apply it to the inside of the card base. And the purpose of this is to keep the card base flat. So when I make the attempt to put the card topper on the card base, that card base is flat and I don't have to worry about that top part flapping around or moving when I'm trying to adhere it. And again, low tack tape works great for this. Let me know in the comment section below if you already know this trick, if you've done it yourself, if this is the first time you've heard of it, if there's something else that you use or that works great for you. Let me know. I would love to hear it. And here I go, just adhering it to my card base using the side of my hands to press down, and then I flip it over again and give it that one last bit of pressure. And now to finish off my card, I'm going to add some bling. I've had quite a bit of this that I've basically collected over the years, and I'm trying to use up what I have. I like adding bling to my projects because it adds more detail to the card. It adds just a nice finishing touch, and again, because I have so much of it, I am trying to use it up, and that is definitely one of my goals this year, is to use up what I have, to shop in my stash and use up what I have already. So here I'm going to open the card and I'm going to remove that bit of painter's tape that I used, and that piece of painter's tape can be used probably another 2 or 3 more times before it loses its stickiness. And there you have it. This is my slimline card for the There's a Stamp for That challenge. I hope you are inspired to create a slimline card or to even check out the challenge on Danny's Facebook page. Again, all the information for the challenge will be in the description box below. And if I've left you with any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So again, this was a great card to make. It was super simple. I really enjoyed, making this card. I love this particular stamp set. It was definitely, a lot of fun. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click that bell for notifications. Until then, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. Peace, friends, and have a crafty day. Bye-bye.